Koe koe. Alright, this is Stephen Ojiri, and this video is going to be about clarifying and correcting something within the Iga and Koga book. The book is Iga and Koga Ninja Skills by Antony Cummins and Yoshie. And without a whole lot of ado, we can just jump straight to page 52. Now, on page 52, you'll see we're in the lower scroll, quote unquote, the lower scroll, and this is where the clarification needs to come up. I wasn't there when these were being translated and such, so I never actually saw the raw original text. And so what I got the book when it was done. Actually, Antony gave me a copy of it because Anthony's cool like that. And I was reading it, and it's translated very well, but I was confused when I got to say like page 52 or whatever. It's confusing because obviously the higher techniques are here recorded as the low tradition, like lower, middle, and upper, and it does not make any sense. And I guess there was just like and it always bothered me. So I actually even did like a book review, and I was going with it, and I had asked Anthony, "Are you sure? Like, are you sure that this says lower, middle, and upper?" "Yeah, it says lower, middle, and upper." So okay, all right. And I did a book review, and I was like saying, "This is, if I don't know if the review's online anymore somewhere, but it was like, okay, I guess that's weird, that the magic, I would say, I guess this is the way it is. I guess this is how it's recorded, is that the real advanced stuff is called lower. Maybe in this tradition maybe it's reversed. Maybe they value the sort of mundane normal technique over the magic, because they're calling the mundane technique the upper and the magic the lower. It's very confusing. And it never set well in my mind. It was so confusing. And even on page 65, you'll see the footnote 74. Anthony is wondering, footnote 74 is wondering, he's wondering the same thing, like what, it's weird. But then what I never saw until today, ironically enough, I never saw point 72, where he says all of these skills are divided into 3 levels, Sho, Chu, Go, and that it's been translated as lower, middle, and upper. And then, like a bolt of lightning, immediately it became clear. Now, I have no idea why Antony and Yoshie chose to use lower, middle, and upper for Sho, Chu, Go. And here's why. And this is all going to make sense. Without trying to be insulting to Antony or Yoshie, they messed this up. The whole book is excellent, but this was interpreted incorrectly. They took Sho as lower, Chu as middle, and Go as upper. Again, I don't know why they did this. Sho, Chu, Go is a Buddhist term. This is very similar to what happened in the Shoninki when I was trying to explain Musho Honin and how the verse is supposed to read acceptance that it is like an illusion, acceptance that it is like a dream. Buddhist terminology, like if you read it and you don't know what you're reading, it's kind of gibberish, or you have to work with interpretations. This is what happened here. Apparently, when they saw Sho, Chu, Go, they didn't recognize this as Buddhist terminology, and they just sort of tried to figure out an explanation. There's no need to figure out an explanation, though. Sho, Chu, Go is a Buddhist terminology. It means beginning, middle, and end. But it doesn't mean that in a secular way. What this refers to is a Buddhist idea called good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. This is Buddhist methodology. Simply put, good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end is the way that a teaching is introduced. Good in the beginning, Sho, right? Sho, Chu, Go, beginning, middle, end. And actually, Go doesn't mean end, and Sho doesn't exactly mean beginning. Sho means initial, Chu means in the middle, and Go means after, or the follow-up. Sho, Chu, Go should really mean the initial teaching, the teaching in the middle, and then the teaching that follows up, right? Sometimes just called beginning, middle, end. Good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end. Also, you could think good at the initial teaching, good in the middle, and good in the follow-up. So again, so what does this mean? Buddhist perspective. Now this whole scroll is about to make sense. Good in the beginning is the profound teaching. This is the Buddhist methodology. The teaching is revealed to you. This is done like in tantric initiation. This is done in when there's a part of, without going into too much detail because it's be a violation. But there's like, for example, when the vows, like at the end of an initiation, there's something called samaya, which is like tantric vows. It's like, for example, good in the beginning. You are given the full version of the vow. And then if that's difficult, then you get the middle, which is the middle length or the middle one, meaning it's a little easier, it's less profound. And then in the end or afterwards, you're giving like a fail safe. Like, okay, you didn't get the full the real teaching is at the beginning. You didn't get it? Okay, let me provide you with a simpler one. Oh, you didn't get it either? Well, I have one more at the end, like that is like the fail safe. So that's what it's saying here, right? In the scroll, the magic, that which has been translated as low tradition, it should actually be is the profound. It's the first one. It's given at the beginning. It's not low tradition, it's the show, or it's the initial teaching. And the initial teaching is the actual technique. This is it in its state as it is, right? Like in like Ati Yoga, they do something called the pointing out instruction, and the teacher just is like, this is the nature of your mind, finger snap, and then you don't get it. Okay, well, you didn't get it. Like, that was the instruction. You didn't get it. Okay, now we have to do something less profound. And then they keep making it less profound and until you eventually catch something. So they start at 100%, then they go to 90, then they go to 80, then they go to 70. So it's not low tradition, middle, upper. It's not in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. It's like the profound, 100%. Oh, you didn't get it? All right, let's make it simpler. Let's give you an 80% teaching. Oh, you didn't get that either? Well, let's give you the 50% teaching. This is why, for example, like on page 52, right, the very first spell, it says low tradition, and it gives you a spell. Then middle tradition, it gives you a military technique. Then upper tradition, it's just hide yourself in the forest. So why would hiding yourself in the forest be the advanced technique? It's not, because it's been translated wrong. It is the profound, which when it says lower, it should say the initial. Here's the teaching. Like, you want to know the art of leaf hiding? Here it is. It's a spell. Boom. This is the art of leaf hiding. You can't do the magic. You're not strong enough. You're not competent enough. Okay, fine. We have an alternative, and then that's the middle tradition. Okay, for some reason that's too hard for you too. All right, that's which they translated as upper is not upper. It's called go, or the afterwards, like the after note, like the fail safe. Okay, well, you couldn't do the magic, you couldn't do the military technique. At a minimum, hide in the forest, hide in the vegetation. So the art of leaf hiding, really, in its profound nature, is that spell. Second to the spell is this hold a small shield toward the direction where the enemy come from. Last, fall back, fail safe would be hiding yourself in the thick growth of the forest. So essentially, because they translated Shochugo as low, middle, high instead of initial, middle, and fail and after point, then everything on these pages, it needs to be reversed. You have to think of wherever it says lower tradition, you have to think that's the actual profound technique. That's the technique as it is. That's the real technique. Middle is this sort of mundane version of the technique, like the non-magical military technique. And then the upper tradition is actually like the last ditch effort. Like if the teacher is trying to teach you the art of leaf hiding, you get taught the spell, and you're incompetent, then you okay, well, let's teach you the military technique then. And you're not good at that, well, then the teacher's like, well, for God's sakes, at least learn to hide in the freaking tree, you know, is what's saying. You see the same thing here. Let's find another one. Okay, page 57. The art of dog hiding, right? That whole spell there, which I don't know if anybody, I think some people already said this, but that Abira Unken is related to Dainichi Nyorai. It's a mantra. That's anyway. But on page 57, and this is interesting too, because this is the Fukushima spell here, but it's slightly, it's a little different in this manual. But the Fukushima Ryu dog eye magic is from the end of the Sengoku period, somewhere between 1595 and 1615 when it was written down. And this spell is much later. This Iga and Koga manual is written much later. So it's interesting to see how the spell was at the end of the Sengoku, and then how the spell looks, 100 years later. So it's interesting. Anyway, but the point of the matter is that where again, page 57, where it says low tradition, that's actually the profound tradition. That's the initial, because remember, the Shochugo is, you get the raw teaching first. This is it in its raw form. Are you ready for it? Like, you're given the profound teaching at the beginning, because if you're competent to grasp it at the beginning, you're done. No more work. There's no reason to learn more stuff. If you are given a spell and you can actually do the magic, then you don't need the military technique. You've got the spell, and that's the Shochugo technique. You're given the point from the beginning. That whole finger snap thing, like, here's the truth. And the thing is, did you catch it? Did you get it? No? Okay, then here's the middle technique. Did you get it? No? Well, we have a backup technique, So for the art of dog hiding, Inogakure no Koto is the technique. The actual spell is the dog eye magic. And if you can't accomplish that, then you have the middle tradition, which has the whole thing about, I'm a tiger, no matter how much a dog barks, it's just a dog. That spell. The one from, I think, the Shinobi Hiden. That's the middle spell. And if you can't get the profound spell, if you can't get the dog eyes and the crimson bag thing to work, then you try the one with your fingers and chanting the I'm a tiger spell. And if that doesn't work, if you're not competent at doing either of those magics, then you can fall back as a last-ditch resort. You can fall back on the wrapped roasted rice, which is the chemical mixed in, etc., etc. So again, don't read it as low, middle, and upper. Read it as profound, middle, and fail-safe, because that's what Shochugo means. Profound, good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end. So it's good in the beginning because you are given the truth. There's not a stinginess to it. There's not a holding back. Good in the beginning. Here's the truth from the beginning. If you're capable of understanding it, you're given it right away, just with loving kindness. Here's the technique. Good in the middle means that if you can't grasp it there, you're given an alternative. You're given a second chance. And then good in the end, even if you fail to comprehend the teaching, there is something that you can take away from it. Good in the middle, good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end means that there is something for everybody to take away from the teaching. Whether you take away the profound point, the middling point, or the fail-safe point, you're gonna get something from the teaching. Like in Buddhist practice, there's good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, and a lot of the sutras have that point. But like in ritual sadhana, like tantra, like Mikyo practice, actual deity yoga and stuff, good in the beginning is like having a profound spiritual experience during the puja. And then if that doesn't happen, it's good in the middle, because even if you don't have a profound spiritual experience, you will purify negative karma and you'll accumulate merit. And then, even if for some reason that doesn't work, as a fail-safe, good in the end, as a fail-safe, you will at least be in a safe and positive environment and have some kind of positive energy from having been there as a fail-safe. So that's how like a puja is good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end. So profound point, middle point, last ditch effort, fail safe point. It's not lower, middle, upper. It is profound, middle, and fail safe. So when you go through here and you read all these points, like on page 59, the skill of luring somebody out by magic, don't think low tradition, think the profound tradition. The real point, the actual point is this spell. And then middle tradition, okay, well, and that's like a little bit more to it, right? And then upper tradition, this is the fail safe, right? Right, because even here in the middle tradition, he's talking about how the wording could be different, but that you should actually go with the way people do it and not the way it's supposed to go, right? Because people are doing it the way in the first section and it's working, right? And that's a mixture of the spell working, but it's also the strength, the spiritual strength of the actual spellcaster, right? If you're weak in chi and you're weak in resolve and you don't have any kind of spiritual practice, training, you probably can't do any spell because you're energetically weak, right? So anyway, but then on page 60 where it says upper tradition, but it should say the fail-safe tradition or the go tradition, meaning like the afterthought, is this basically like, okay, we'll use a fake messenger to lure them out. And this is what you will see through this whole scroll with the Shochu Go is always magic, secondary, afterthought, fail safe. Like, for example, page 62, the art of not shooting an arrow if you're going to miss. In the Sho tradition, unless you're sure of a method of infiltration, you should not infiltrate, right? It's not good to infiltrate without a fair prospect of success. That's it right there. There's nothing else to explain. Boom, don't infiltrate unless you know you're going to be successful. The middling tradition, choose the shinobi no mono who can make a suggestion of what technique should be used. As soon as you talk to them and send them out, you should not use those that are slow in the outtake. Okay. This is more about like in the Sho tradition, you already have everything planned out and successful. In the Chu tradition, okay, you're going to you got to rely on the shinobi at that time, whereas you should have already had it set up. And then finally, in the Go tradition, if you execute a plan that fails, you should not try with the same method again. Like that's basically saying it's like 1, 2, 3. It's like in the most profound sense, you won't fail because you've properly planned. Okay, maybe you didn't properly plan. You planned a little bit. Well, don't fail to use your ninja. Okay, if you do fail, whatever the hell you did, don't do it again. But you see how that last one go? You won't need to be told not to fail again. You won't be told how not to fail if you didn't fail. And you don't fail in the Sho tradition. But in the Go tradition, the afterthought one, you did fail. So it's like the first teaching is don't fail. That's the first one. Don't fail. Snap. That Sho tradition, don't fail. Chu tradition, try really hard not to fail. Go tradition, if you fail, don't do that again. Do you see? So, I mean, that's why that point 14 really shows that idea. It's like succeed. Try to succeed. If you don't succeed, whatever you did that was wrong, don't do that again. Do you see almost like how you can say that? Like if you had one student who was like really, really competent and clever, you could just look at him and say, don't fail. And they wouldn't fail, right? And then you have a student who's kind of in the middle and you're like, you need to plan a little bit more before you attack. And then the last student, the one who like, you don't end up telling that student not to fail. You end up telling that student when you fail. You see what I'm saying? Do you see the difference? The first student, you're like, don't fail. And the last student, you're like, when you fail, you know? And that's that Shochu Go. Profound, middle, and fail switch. Like fail safe. Anyway, so that's how that section's actually supposed to be translated. That's what it means. But because I guess Antony or Yoshie didn't recognize Shochugo as a Buddhist term and then how that means within the text, they just translated as lower, middle, and upper and actually got the entire scroll reversed. The way it's printed makes it sound like the magic is low and the mundane is high, but you need to reverse that. Lower is not low, it's initial. Middle is middle, and upper is not upper. What they've translated as upper is after or afterwards. Shochugo, good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. Profound point in the beginning, middle point in the middle, and cover your ass fail safe switch at the end. So it really is actually is the up high teaching first, middle, and then the low teaching is the last one. All right. So I hope that clarifies that. And now whenever anybody reads that, they'll just know that they have to actually sort of reverse the order. All right. Take care.